This is the Leica SL3 camera. I have been using my Leica SL2S for over a year now. It has been my companion on a day-to-day basis at watch events, picking it up and going to a fair with it and filming these YouTube videos. And I've loved the camera. So when I heard that there might be a Leica SL3, I had to try it out. I asked Leica if I could test the camera for a couple of days, and here it is. This is the new Leica SL3 camera. And there are a couple of things that have changed compared to the SL2. Most notably is the obvious one. We now have a 60 megapixel sensor. We also have 8K capabilities, which is very interesting. In order to do that, there are two things that also changed. You now have the opportunity to, instead of using two SD card slots, you have one SD card slot and one XPS card slot for the faster 8K resolution. And there's one more thing. There's a different battery. The battery is not that different. You will be able to use the Leica SL3 battery in your Q3 or in your Q2, and you will be able to use the classic Q2 and SL2 batteries in the SL3. Only difference is that the SL3 battery has a bit more power to support the 8K footage. What more is to this camera, and why should you actually buy it? Or should you buy it? I have been using the Leica SL2S for over a year, as already mentioned, and I pick it up on a day-to-day basis. And the camera is quite heavy, and it's bigger than the classic M or the Q. The SL3 is slightly more compact. I don't have any measurements yet, and I can't tell you how much it actually weighs, but from my testing, it's a tad bit lighter than the SL2S, and it's a tad bit shorter and more compact than the SL2. You now have a bit of a different kind of feel when you pick up the camera. If you're used to the SL2, then yeah, get used to the SL3. So Leica is launching a new update with their Leica Photos app, their companion app to the camera, which is great, which allows faster uploads and downloads, which also allows the download of video footage onto your phone, because the SL3 is now capable of doing that as well, similar to the Q3. If you look at the camera itself, you will notice one thing: the buttons change. The layout is different, and there is a tilt screen, basically the same screen that you already know from the Q3. The button layout is intriguing. It's very intuitive. It's classic Leica style, focusing on what is really necessary. I like the new on and off button compared to the older ones, and the layout is a bit different. It doesn't really need getting used to, for me at least, because it's the same procedure, it's the same minimalistic approach. However, they kind of managed to improve the menu and how you operate the camera a little bit. So now you have a touch screen, and all the details on the screen, they also tilt depending on what direction you put the camera in. If you're shooting vertical or horizontal, they will move, and they're also touch sensitive, so you can change things on the spot. And this is one thing that I appreciate, because sometimes when I take pictures of watches, it's a little bit annoying that I have to rotate them on my phone and that they're not really in the right direction. So I also took a couple of test shots with the camera to test the 60 megapixels. It's just amazing. For me, as a watch photographer, it's just fantastic to take a wrist shot and then crop into the dial and basically have a carousel ready to post. A wrist shot, a close-up of the dial, and then you have a nice macro shot of details on the dial. What more do I want? Well, there are a couple of things, but I'll get to that later. The other thing is, with the camera capabilities, it's also very handy to use for a film camera. You can film YouTube videos like this with it. It has 4K, it has Cine 4K. You can also shoot raw footage by putting on some additional equipment, and you can shoot in 8K if you really need it. For me, on YouTube, it's not really that necessary. I will stick to the 4K. So What kind of upgrades would I hope for a SL4, and do I hope for a SL3S? There's one thing that for my personal usage would be fantastic. I would wish for a flip screen. I know a tilt screen is enough for most photographers, but for me, using the SL2S on an everyday basis, filming myself for YouTube, but also filming watches, taking pictures of watches, and for this very niche use case, I would wish for a flip screen. I love the SL system. It's a great camera. You can try out different lenses. You can use the M lenses. You can use the L mount lenses. You have the L mount alliance with different kinds of Sigma lenses as well. It's really a professional camera to use, and I enjoy it a lot. It gives me the feeling that I'm a professional when using it. So is this a camera for you? Should you pick it up? Well, in my opinion, if you have an SL2, for example, with the 40 megapixel sensor, then probably it's not that necessary. If you have the SL2S, you could probably consider upgrading, but personally, I'd wait because if we know Leica, there will probably be a Leica SL3S. For me, at least, for the whole video aspect, I'd be hoping for that. And I do hope they make it maybe a tad bit slimmer, more compact, a bit lighter, even a bit lighter than the SL3. That would be fantastic. And maybe they can add a flip out screen, and then I'd be super happy. I'd never have to use a different camera ever again. But other than that, if you're using a Q or if you're using an M and you are a professional, then maybe you should take a look at the SL3. If you have one of their older systems, an SL, or you're just new to the whole space, I have a couple of videos on the SL system and my experience with it. Do check that out. I will put them up here. That are my thoughts on the new Leica SL3 camera. If you want to check out a couple of my reviews, or if you want to go into deep with the SL system and want to have a look at my experience, I have 2 videos here for you to check out. That's it basically on the SL3. I will have a link to the SL3 down in the description below. Let me hear your thoughts on the camera. I know this is a camera review and not a watch review this time, but I'm very into cameras. I've been learning so much more about photography and videography by using the SL2S. If you're into this space and you really want to try out the cameras, go to your local Leica store. They have this trial-based testing where you can pick up one of their cameras. Go there, do that. They are super friendly. They are nice. They have great coffee. If you're in Vienna, let's meet there. Let's have a chat. And if you have any questions on the SL system or on specific niche watch photography and videography topics, then you can also put them in the comments down below, or check me out on Instagram, shoot me a DM, and let's have a conversation. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see each other in the next video. Bye-bye.